Have you ever wondered why some of the world's richest pirate treasures worth millions are still lost to this day? For centuries, explorers and treasure hunters have searched every clue, every map, and every legend. Yet these treasures remain hidden. Today, we are going to uncover the top 10 pirate treasure, mysteries that could change history and maybe even make you a millionaire if you find them. Gold, silver, jewels worth millions vanished into thin air centuries ago. Treasure hunters have risked lives, fortunes, and countless years searching for them. Yet these legendary pirate treasures are still missing. In this video, we reveal the top 10 lost pirate treasures that could rewrite history if found. Stay tuned, because the clues we'll uncover might just lead to the ultimate jackpot: pirates. The word alone stirs up images of roaring cannons, tattered sails flapping in the wind, and daring men with weather-beaten faces chasing riches across the seven seas. But behind the legends of eye patches and buried chests lies a reality far stranger and far more mysterious than most people realize. These were men and sometimes women who defied empires, terrorized merchant ships, and accumulated wealth so immense that even kings envied them. Yet for all the gold and silver they plundered, much of it simply disappeared, vanished, scattered across islands, sunk with their ships, or hidden so well that even centuries later, modern technology and countless treasure hunters haven't been able to recover it. And that's what keeps people obsessed. Because it isn't just about gold coins and sparkling jewels. It's about secrets buried beneath time itself. It's about maps drawn in blood, rumors whispered in smoky taverns, ships caught in storms that swallowed not only men but also fortunes worth millions. These aren't just stories. They're puzzles left unsolved by history. And every time a new clue surfaces, a piece of a map, a diver discovering a centuries-old cannon, a journal page in a forgotten archive, the world leans forward, hoping this time it might lead to the treasure everyone's been chasing for generations. Think about this for a moment. Back in the golden age of piracy, from the 1650s to the 1730s, pirates weren't the ragtag misfits Hollywood sometimes shows us. Many of them were former naval officers, experienced sailors, or privateers once hired by governments themselves to attack enemy ships. They were skilled, disciplined when needed, and knew the oceans better than most. When peace treaties ended their legal licenses to plunder, many simply kept going on their own terms. And along the way, they captured galleons loaded with silver from the Americas, merchant ships carrying silk, and spices from the East, and vessels transporting gold coins minted in European capitals. They lived fast, drank hard, and stole fortunes. But here's the twist that still fascinates historians and treasure hunters alike. These men knew they could unspend all that wealth in one place without attracting the wrong kind of attention. Authorities were after them, bounty hunters were after them, even rival pirates were after them. So what did they do? They hid it. Sometimes on remote islands where they planned to return later. Sometimes deep inland in caves or swamps, guarded by nothing but nature and secrecy. And sometimes the treasure never made it to land at all because a sudden hurricane, a naval battle, or a sinking ship sent it straight to the bottom of the sea. That's why centuries later we still talk about lost pirate treasures as if they're myths, but they're not myths. We have records of some of these ships. We know the names of certain pirates who were tried and executed, their testimonies mentioning treasure left behind. We have logbooks, letters, even maps passed down through generations. Yet the treasures themselves remain stubbornly hidden. And the value? In modern terms, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in gold, silver, precious gems, and priceless artifacts just waiting out there, somewhere beneath sand, waves, or jungle overgrowth. And it's not just about money. Each lost treasure is a time capsule. Inside those chests might be coins stamped with empires that no longer exist, jewelry crafted by artisans whose names are lost to history, religious relics stolen from cathedrals centuries ago, or even personal items belonging to pirates themselves, items that could completely change how we see their world. Finding just one of these treasures wouldn't only make someone rich. It would rewrite chapters of history books. Yet for all the technology we have today, satellites, underwater drones, ground-penetrating radar, we still haven't cracked most of these mysteries. Sure, pieces have been found here and there. A handful of coins washed ashore. A cannon discovered underwater. But the legendary hoards, the big ones, the ones worth millions, still out there, daring us to find them. And maybe that's why they continue to haunt our imagination. Because in a world where so many mysteries have been solved, where satellites can photograph the surface of Mars, the fact that treasures hidden hundreds of years ago remain beyond our grasp feels almost unbelievable. And maybe, just maybe, that's why every few years someone new sets out with a map, a metal detector, and a dream. Because the clues are real. The history is real. The treasures are real. They're just waiting for the right person, the right moment, the right discovery that turns legend back into reality. And maybe that person could even be watching this video right now. When we talk about pirate treasures, we're not dealing with small fortunes or a few gold coins scattered in the sand. We're talking about legendary hoards worth millions, sometimes even billions in today's money fortunes, so massive that entire fleets fought over them. Fortunes that vanished into storms, jungles, and hidden coves, leaving behind only whispers, half-burned maps, and tantalizing legends. These aren't random tales told around campfires. They're rooted in history, documented in records, trial testimonies, and old naval logs. And the mysteries surrounding them have kept treasure hunters busy for centuries. So let's step into the world of the 10 most famous lost pirate treasures. The ones that still defy discovery despite all our modern technology and relentless curiosity. We begin with the notorious Captain William Kidd, a man who started as a privateer under British authority, hunting down pirates in the late 1600s, only to become one of the most feared pirates himself. Before his capture and execution in 1701, Kidd supposedly buried a fortune in gold, silver, and jewels somewhere along the American coastline, possibly Gardiner's Island near New York. The treasure was rumored to be so immense that even colonial governors were tempted to secretly claim it for themselves. Over the centuries, countless treasure hunters have searched the beaches, forests, and coves Kidd may have used, finding only a few small clues like coins and fragments of metal. Yet the legendary hoard, believed to be worth millions today, remains hidden, mocking every expedition that's tried to claim it. Then comes the dark figure of Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, perhaps the most famous pirate in history. Commanding his ship, Queen Anne's Revenge, Blackbeard terrorized the American coastline and Caribbean waters in the early 1700s. Stories say he had a cunning nature, often spreading rumors about vast amounts of treasure buried before he was killed in battle off North Carolina in 1718. When divers found his shipwreck centuries later, they discovered cannons, weapons, and everyday artifacts, but not the gold and jewels people expected. Some believe Blackbeard intentionally hid his treasure on secret islands, while others think it lies deep underwater somewhere off the Carolina coast, locked away by time and tides. Next, we head to South America for the story of the Treasure of Lima, a fortune so huge it sounds like fiction but is rooted in historical record. In 1820, as Spanish forces were losing control over Peru, colonial officials entrusted the treasure worth over $200 million today to a British ship captain, William Thompson, for safekeeping. But Thompson and his crew betrayed the Spanish, vanished with the gold, silver, and priceless religious artifacts, and were eventually caught. He promised to reveal the treasure's location to save his life, but never did. Many believe it's hidden on Cocos Island off the coast of Costa Rica, a place so mysterious it inspired Robert Louis Stevenson's novel Treasure Island. Yet despite hundreds of expeditions, the treasure hasn't been found. Closer to the American South, we have the French pirate Jean Lafitte, who operated along the Gulf Coast in the early 1800s, part smuggler, part privateer, part patriot. He even helped defend New Orleans in the War of 1812. Lafitte supposedly left behind hidden treasure in the Louisiana bayous and barrier islands. Cryptic maps, local legends, and the treacherous swamps themselves have kept searchers guessing for 2 centuries. Every so often, someone claims to find a small stash of coins or weapons linked to Lafitte, but the main hoard remains elusive, perhaps swallowed by shifting sands and rising waters. If there's one thing that is more plentiful than gold doubloons and jewels in the Caribbean, it's tales of buried treasure. Stories of looted riches concealed by seafaring rogues have captured our imaginations for centuries. Today we are going to uncover the legends of 4 legendary pirate treasures. Because although these fortunes may be lost, they still haunt the seas where they were secreted away. And even though it's been hundreds of years since the gold was buried, the hunt to find them continues. Our first legendary lost treasure belongs to a galleon named the Flor de la Mar. It was a Portuguese ship built for exploration and trade in the Spice Islands, specifically the island of Malacca. During its maiden voyage in 1511, the massive galleon set sail from Lisbon, Portugal. But shortly after reaching the Strait of Malacca, it was captured by a fleet of Portuguese vessels under the command of Alfonso de Albuquerque. Though the battle was fierce, the Flor de la Mar sank along with its fortune. Somewhere off the coast of Sumatra, it met its demise. In the aftermath, Albuquerque retrieved what he could from the wreckage, but much of the galleon's contents, including the fabled treasure of Malacca, were never recovered. According to historical accounts, this treasure was worth over 13 tons of gold and was the reason for the high-stakes battle. Much of this loot was said to have belonged to merchants from Venice, Genoa, and Pisa who had entrusted their valuables to the ship for transport back to Europe. What actually happened to the Flor de la Mar and her cargo remains a mystery, though many believe that the treasure lies beneath the waves waiting to be discovered. Despite numerous attempts and searches throughout history, none have succeeded in locating the sunken galleon or its valuable cargo. Our next lost treasure belongs to the ruthless pirate Henry Morgan. In 1671, Morgan and his crew seized Panama City and plundered the riches held within. They stole so much that it would take them 2 years to transport all of their plunder back to Europe. However, when Morgan decided to flee the city, he encountered an unforeseen problem. He couldn't carry all of his treasure, so he did the only logical thing he could think of. He buried it in the sand, hoping to return for it another day. But unfortunately, Morgan did live long enough to retrieve any of it because he was killed in Jamaica in 1688, so the loot remained hidden until now. The whereabouts of this lost fortune, also known as the Chagres River shipwrecks, was revealed by Morgan 1722. She told people that she knew the location of the buried treasure and claimed that it still existed somewhere in the river. This led to the beginning of the hunt for Morgan's riches, which has continued ever since. Many treasure hunters have scoured the Chagres River near Panama City looking for the lost fortune, but none have been successful so far. There are a few reasons for this, though. First, the area has changed a lot since Morgan's day. When he buried his treasure in 1671, the river's course was different, and this could mean that the exact spot where he hid his loot has also changed. Second, the river is deep in parts and not all of the buried treasure is necessarily in the same place. There's a good chance that some of it might be scattered around different parts of the riverbed. Third, there might not be any obvious markers above the ground pointing to where the treasure is hidden. This would make it really hard to find unless someone knows exactly where to look, which is unlikely after all these years. Finally, it's possible that Morgan's daughter was mistaken about the treasure still being there at all. After all, it was quite a long time ago that it was buried, and it's entirely possible that looters have already found it. Even so, the legend of the lost treasure lives on and people still dream of finding Morgan's hidden fortune. Now let's talk about the infamous 1715 treasure fleet. On June 10, 1715, a devastating hurricane struck the Florida coast, causing one of the greatest maritime disasters in history. Caught off guard, the Spanish treasure fleet, comprising of 11 galleons laden with gold, silver, and emeralds, attempted to flee, but were not fast enough to escape the storm's wrath. Near present-day St. Augustine, 8 ships were wrecked and 3 others, including the flagship San Miguel, were severely damaged. Of the estimated 450,000 pieces of 8 silver and untold amounts of gold and precious gems, only a fraction has been recovered. One wreck in particular holds the key to the majority of the fleet's riches, the San Miguel. The flagship was commanded by Captain Diego de Figueiredo, whose decision to stay in port instead of sailing earlier may have saved many lives. As the only vessel to reach shallower waters where it grounded near the mouth of the Matanzas River today, the San Miguel managed to survive the storm and was later refloated with significant losses. It returned to Spain with only 150 survivors aboard who recounted the harrowing tale of the shipwreck. Historians estimate that the galleon carried approximately 300,000 pieces of 8 silver, equivalent to nearly 10 tons of metal. Although rumors persist that the San Miguel was laden with even more precious cargo, this figure is based on records showing that the galleon departed Havana with 300,000 pesos in silver and a smaller quantity of gold and emeralds. Records also indicate that due to water damage, some silver bars were jettisoned into the sea during the ordeal, further reducing the amount of treasure on board. While only a few artifacts have been recovered from the wreck site over the years, efforts to locate the San Miguel remain ongoing. Many believe that its vast riches are still waiting to be uncovered, untouched for centuries beneath the ocean's surface. And speaking of great lost treasures, we can't forget to mention the mysterious fortune of the infamous pirate Captain Kidd in 1696. William Kidd set sail on a privateering voyage to combat piracy in the Caribbean and along the African coast. However, Kidd turned to piracy himself, pillaging on merchant ships and coastal settlements. By 1700, he amassed a fortune plundering across the Indian Ocean, China Sea, and even Madagascar's shores. Captured by the British Navy in 1701 and charged with piracy and murder, Kidd was executed just weeks later in London. Before his death, he provided clues to the location of buried treasure, but the spots he described either remain unknown or have yet to yield any riches. It is said that the Rhode Island pirate stashed 300,000 pounds in gold, silver, and jewels during his travels, equivalent to roughly $10 billion today. Though most of this loot was reportedly carried on his ship, the Adventure, and later transferred to a warehouse in London, some booty remained hidden in secret coves and forgotten on remote islands. Over the years, several expeditions have set out to find Kidd's buried treasure, but none have been successful. One theory suggests that he kept a detailed map of his hidden riches, but it has never surfaced. Another possibility is that the treasure lies on Gardiner's Island off the eastern tip of Long Island. New York, Kidd was known to frequent the area and allegedly buried loot on the island's shores, leaving behind only a crudely drawn map marked with cryptic symbols. Unfortunately, the search for Kidd's treasure on Gardiner's Island proved fruitless as authorities failed to uncover any riches during their investigations. So why haven't these pirate treasures been found yet? There are a few reasons. First, these treasures were often hidden during the golden age of piracy, which took place between the 1600s and 1700s. During this time, the seas were dominated by privateers who were essentially legal pirates working for colonial governments such as those of Spain, Portugal, France, Britain, and the Netherlands. These privateers would sail out to sea and attack enemy merchant ships and settlements, taking whatever valuables they could find. The privateers then divided up the spoils according to a pre-agreed-upon system and shared the riches with their government. However, sometimes the privateers would come across a haul that was too valuable to share, or they simply would untrust their government to give them their fair share. In these cases, they would bury the treasure on an island or hide it somewhere else and then try to retrieve it at a later date. Unfortunately, many of these pirates were killed or captured before they had a chance to return for their loot, and the treasure was never recovered. Second, the maps and clues that the pirates left behind were often vague and incomplete. This was done intentionally to prevent anyone else from finding the treasure, and it's one of the reasons why Captain Kidd's treasure has never been found. Third, the coastlines have changed a lot since the 1600s and 1700s. Due to erosion and other natural processes, the shape of the coastline has changed significantly in some areas, and this makes it difficult to know where to search for the treasure. Fourth, many of the pirates who buried their treasure were killed or captured and took their secrets to their graves. Without knowing where the pirates hid their treasure, it's extremely difficult to find. Fifth, the waters where many of these pirate treasures are located are very deep. This makes it challenging for searchers to explore the seabed and locate any potential shipwrecks or buried treasure. Finally, the evidence for these pirate treasures is often scattered across a wide area and across a large time frame. For example, if a pirate ship was lost at sea, the wreckage may be located in one area while the crew may have buried some treasure on an island nearby. In addition, artifacts such as coins, jewelry, and personal belongings may have been lost or scattered at various points during the voyage. All of these factors make it very difficult to piece together what happened to a particular pirate ship or crew and to locate any associated treasure. Despite these challenges, people continue to search for these legendary pirate treasures. In recent years, there have been a number of expeditions funded by wealthy individuals and companies in hopes of discovering one of these lost fortunes. However, so far none of these expeditions have been successful. Well, that's all for this video. Let us know in the comments below which legendary pirate treasure you would want to find the most. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our other videos about famous lost treasures. Thanks for watching. Buried somewhere in the Bahamas, guarded by sharks and hidden in plain sight, is an island worth $200 million. It's called the Treasure of Lima, and it has been lost for 300 years. Now, a simple map may be all that stands between you and riches beyond your wildest dreams. But this guide will reveal the truth about the secret map to the Treasure of Lima. So if you're ready to sail the seas and plunder untold riches, stay tuned because we've got a lot to cover. From the legendary Captain Kidd's fortune on Gardiner's Island to the $200 million Treasure of Lima and the whereabouts of Blackbeard's fortune, there are plenty of clues that could point us towards these fabled fortunes. But what do they mean? And why have none of them led to any real answers yet? In our previous episode about the Treasure of Lima, we discussed how on June 6, 1680, the Spanish galleon San Jose was sailing from Panama to Spain when it sank off the coast of Cartagena, Colombia. Aboard were bales of silver, emeralds, and gold. The ship went down with over 500 crew members aboard, and only 11 survived the ordeal. And since then, the legend of the lost galleon has attracted fortune hunters from around the world. According to estimates, the ship had approximately 11 million Spanish silver pesos, or roughly 347 tons of silver aboard at the time it sank, along with 90 tons of gold and thousands of bales of emeralds. If valued today, that treasure would be worth well over $200 million. Now, there are many legends of hidden treasure and lost fortunes. So why should you care about the Treasure of Lima? Well, it's one of the most valuable lost treasures in history. Some treasure hunters believe that the galleon's cargo may have washed ashore in the Bahamas after the wreck, where it remains hidden somewhere on the islands. If true, finding this treasure would be like hitting the jackpot. But there are also other legends of pirate treasure that have captured people's imaginations for centuries. One of the most famous is that of Captain Kidd, a privateer turned pirate who sailed the Caribbean and the east coast of the United States during the late 17th century. According to legend, he buried a chest containing millions of dollars worth of loot on Gardiner's Island near Orient Point, New York, before hanging in London in 1701. To date, the search for his buried treasure continues, although no trace of it has ever been found. Another legendary pirate whose name became synonymous with buried treasure is Blackbeard. The infamous pirate was killed in battle with British naval forces in 1780, but not before burying some of his ill-gotten gains on an island in the Bahamas. Unfortunately for would-be treasure hunters, Blackbeard's island and the location of his treasure remain a mystery to this day. Despite centuries of searching, none of these great pirate fortunes have ever been found. But that hasn't stopped people from trying. In recent years, modern technology has made it easier than ever to scour the ocean floor and remote islands for hidden booty. With ground-penetrating radar, underwater drones, and high-resolution satellite imagery, treasure hunters can comb through potential sites with greater accuracy than ever before. And yet, despite these advances, the greatest pirate treasures remain elusive, forever hidden beneath the waves or buried deep in the earth. So what gives? Why haven't we found these legendary fortunes yet? One reason is that many of the clues that lead us to these treasures are often cryptic and open to interpretation. Take, for example, the supposed treasure map of Blackbeard's buried fortune. Some say it contains hidden messages or codes that must be deciphered before the location of the treasure can be revealed. Others argue that the map is little more than a hoax. This ambiguity creates a never-ending treasure hunt where each new discovery only raises more questions. For instance, recently, a team of treasure hunters discovered a mysterious wooden box on an uninhabited Caribbean island. The box contained a strange assortment of items, including a tarnished silver cup, a rusty sword, and a leather-bound book with cryptic writings inside. The writings were written in a strange code and have not yet been deciphered. Could this be the long-lost treasure of Blackbeard? Or are we chasing another false lead? Until the cryptic writings are decoded, we may never know. And the problem doesn't end there. There are other challenges that make finding pirate treasure so difficult. Many of the ships that were laden with riches, like the Treasure of Lima, lie beneath hundreds of feet of water where visibility is poor and the pressure is immense. To reach such depths, specialized equipment is required, which is expensive to deploy and operate. Not to mention the harsh conditions of the deep sea, which can quickly turn a treasure hunt into a dangerous mission. But even on land, finding pirate treasure is no easy feat. Ancient maps and documents that may hold clues to the location of buried booty are often incomplete, inaccurate, or intentionally misleading. For example, one document reportedly describes the location of Captain Kidd's treasure using landmarks that no longer exist or can be identified with certainty. This sort of thing happens a lot, but the biggest challenge of all may be Mother Nature herself. Over the centuries, natural disasters such as hurricanes, floods, and earthquakes have destroyed countless pirate hideouts and buried treasures. Even if you manage to find a clue to the location of buried treasure, you may be too late. Nature has a way of reclaiming what is hers. But despite these challenges, the allure of pirate treasure is too strong to resist for many people. And so the hunt goes on. Recently, new discoveries have given hope to those looking for their fortunes. On an uninhabited island in the Bahamas, a team of researchers uncovered a mysterious cave filled with artifacts from the 17th century. Among the items found were shards of a porcelain plate that bore the coat of arms of the Spanish king at the time, Philip IV. Could this be evidence of the Treasure of Lima washing up on the shores of the island? It's possible. But without more evidence, it's hard to say for sure. Meanwhile, off the coast of North Carolina, a group of fishermen stumbled upon a shipwreck that may have belonged to a notorious pirate named Blackbeard. According to legend, the ship was carrying a massive haul of gold, jewels, and other treasures when it went down. While the ship's identity has not yet been confirmed, many believe it could be the key to unlocking Blackbeard's lost fortune. In addition to these recent discoveries, many treasure hunters are using modern technology to search for pirate treasure in new and innovative ways. One company, Odyssey Marine Exploration, uses advanced sonar and imaging techniques to scan the seabed for shipwrecks and other underwater treasures. Another company, Deep Sea Finders, employs remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, to explore deep-sea wrecks in greater detail. These ROVs are equipped with cameras and other instruments that allow treasure hunters to see and recover items from the depths without having to risk their own lives. But perhaps the most exciting development in the field of maritime archaeology and treasure hunting is the use of artificial intelligence, or AI. AI-powered systems can analyze vast amounts of data, including old maps, historical records, and underwater images, to identify potential sites of interest. They can also help treasure hunters interpret the clues that they find, such as cryptic writings or hidden symbols. Despite these technological advances, however, the greatest pirate treasures remain elusive. We have yet to find Blackbeard's fortune or the Treasure of Lima, and Captain Kidd's riches may be nothing but a myth. Maybe these legendary fortunes simply don't exist. So what do you think? Are we destined to never find these legendary fortunes, or are we just on the brink of a major discovery? Share your thoughts below and let me know what you think. Maybe together we can solve this mystery. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for watching and happy treasure hunting. For centuries, brave swashbucklers and scurvy dogs have roamed the high seas seeking untold riches and adventure. And many of them achieved both, gathering up fortunes in gold, gems, and plunder. But when their time came to walk the plank, many of these infamous rogues left their fortune behind, hiding it away on remote islands or burying it on forgotten shores. These lost pirate treasures are still being sought after today. So why haven't we found them yet? Hi everyone. I am here to tell you all about the amazing lost pirate treasures that history has yet to recover. For centuries, intrepid treasure hunters, historians and adventurers have combed through old maps, scoured remote islands, and dived into murky waters in search of lost pirate fortunes that could be worth millions. Yet despite countless expeditions and even the aid of modern technology, the biggest pirate treasures remain hidden. So what's the deal? Why haven't we found the lost pirate treasures yet? Well, there are a lot of reasons. Let's talk about the obstacles standing between us and the fabled fortunes. First off, let's talk about the vagaries of Mother Nature. Storms, hurricanes, floods, and earthquakes can dramatically change the landscape over the course of a few hundred years. In fact, many of the most famous pirate hideouts and burial grounds may have been erased from existence entirely due to these natural disasters. One wrong move, and your island hideaway could end up at the bottom of the sea or buried under a mountain of muddy, and if that wasn't bad enough, don't forget about the shifting sands of time. Just think about how many ancient ruins have been lost to erosion. Over the centuries, rivers may have changed course, coastlines may have shifted, and entire islands may have vanished below the waves. And let's not forget about those pesky pirates themselves. They were outlaws who trusted no one. So when they died, they often took their treasure secrets to their graves. Even if a pirate revealed the location of their hidden loot before their time ran out, there's no guarantee that the next person will be able to find it. After all, pirates weren't known for their penmanship skills or their attention to detail. Many of the maps they used to mark their treasure spots were hand-drawn and featured landmarks that may no longer exist after centuries of environmental change. And let's face it, some pirates were just plain cryptic. They liked to leave behind riddles and puzzles that made it nearly impossible for anyone to decipher their hidden booty. But wait, there's more. Some pirates took their love of deception to the grave. As we mentioned earlier, pirates often spread false rumors about buried wealth to distract their pursuers. This was a common tactic used to throw off potential treasure hunters. Not only did it prevent them from finding the real treasure, but it also helped to inflate the legend of the pirate and their ill-gotten gains. So, even if you stumbled upon a map leading you to believe that Blackbeard's buried treasure lies just beneath your feet, you might actually be digging up nothing but dirt. You see, pirates were notorious for their cunning ways, and they knew how to keep their treasure safe. Some of them chose remote locations for their hideouts, while others buried their loot in unmarked graves. And let us not forget about those clever pirates who hid their treasure on ships or in underwater coves where it would be safe from prying eyes. It's estimated that at least 1/3 of all pirate treasure is lost forever, hidden away in places that will never be discovered. Some of this loot may have been taken by locals who knew about the buried treasure and decided to keep it a secret. Others may have been lost to time, simply forgotten about until someone stumbles upon it by accident. But whether the treasure has been recovered or remains hidden, the mystery surrounding its whereabouts continues to capture our imaginations. Let's talk about shipwrecks. When a pirate ship sank, the cargo was often scattered across miles of seabed. The unpredictable nature of shipwrecks meant that pirate treasures could be lost in the depths of the ocean and buried under layers of sediment. This makes it incredibly difficult for modern treasure hunters to locate any sunken vessels. The harsh marine environment can also take a toll on the condition of any artifacts, making it challenging to identify them as pirate treasure. To make matters worse, many pirate ships were deliberately scuttled, meaning that the crew members abandoned ship and sank it on purpose. This was usually done to prevent the ship from falling into enemy hands. However, it also means that there are many underwater grave sites of pirate ships that remain undiscovered. This is partly because pirates favored remote and uncharted waters for their activities, making it hard to know where to start looking. Additionally, many pirate ships were laden with contraband goods such as stolen merchandise and smuggled items, which could have been jettisoned overboard during a battle or a storm. This means that pirate treasure may be scattered and elusive, making it difficult to piece together. The discovery of a shipwreck doesn't necessarily mean that it was a pirate vessel. Some items may have been lost during a storm or due to enemy attack. while others may have simply been discarded as the ship's cargo became damaged or useless. Therefore, not every underwater discovery is a sign of buried pirate treasure. It's important to remember that people have been searching for lost pirate treasures for hundreds of years. Over the centuries, many of the most valuable items may have been discovered and sold on the black market. While some of these items may eventually resurface in the hands of collectors or museums, many others may be lost forever. Without proper documentation, it's impossible to know how much pirate treasure has been recovered throughout history or where it may be hiding. These days, treasure hunters have access to some pretty advanced technology. Satellite scans, computerized mapping, and deep-sea diving equipment are just a few of the tools that are used to track down lost pirate treasures. But even with all of this fancy gear, finding buried booty isn't easy. Dense jungles, volcanic rock, and shifting ocean sediments can all make it difficult to locate submerged wrecks or buried caches of treasure. And even when treasure hunters do find something, there are often legal complications involved. You see, the items may be protected under maritime law or international regulations, especially if they are considered part of a cultural heritage site. This means that some items may be off-limits to private collectors and researchers, making it hard to know what has really been found and where. One big obstacle standing between us and lost pirate treasures is, well, us. Humans have been scavenging the seas for centuries, and it's likely that many small discoveries have been quietly kept under wraps to avoid drawing unwanted attention. Some of these discoveries may have been lost to time, while others may have been partially looted by locals who knew about the buried treasure and decided to keep it a secret. Over the centuries, these small-scale operations may have inadvertently destroyed some of the most valuable pirate treasures, leaving behind only fragments of what once was there. Here's another: laws. You see, the governments of many countries claim ownership of any treasure found within their territorial waters. This means that many pirate treasures are not free for the taking, even if you discover them. In some cases, treasure hunters may have to turn over their finds to the government, which can lead to disputes and discourage people from coming forward with their discoveries. In other cases, the government may choose to keep the treasure in state museums or other public spaces, which can be frustrating for those who feel that they have a right to the booty. There are even reports of pirate treasures being lost due to bureaucratic red tape. In some cases, treasure hunters have been unable to receive permission to excavate or explore areas where they believe treasure may lie. This can be due to a variety of factors, including the complexity of the permitting process, cost involved, or a lack of cooperation from relevant authorities. In other cases, governments may choose to protect certain areas from further exploration due to concerns about damage to the environment or historical sites. Now, let's talk about technology. Like we said earlier, satellite scans, computerized mapping, and deep-sea diving equipment are all valuable tools when it comes to tracking down lost pirate treasures. But even with all of this fancy gear, there are still plenty of obstacles to overcome. Dense jungles, volcanic rock, and shifting ocean sediments can all make it difficult to locate submerged wrecks or buried caches of treasure. What's more, the technology needed to explore some of the most promising areas for pirate treasure is often expensive and inaccessible to private individuals or small organizations. For example, exploring deep-sea wrecks requires specialized equipment and expertise, which can limit the search efforts to those with significant resources. Additionally, some of the most promising areas for pirate treasure are located in remote or politically unstable regions, making it difficult for explorers to gain access. Despite all of these obstacles, the allure of lost pirate treasure continues to capture the imaginations of adventurers and historians alike. The dream of discovering a lost fortune is a timeless one that has inspired countless expeditions and unearthed many fascinating artifacts. So, even though we may never uncover all of the lost pirate treasures that lie hidden around the world, the search itself is an exciting journey filled with mystery and intrigue. Thanks for watching. Do you know about any other obstacles that prevent us from finding lost pirate treasure? If so, let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more.